Hi, everyone, and thanks so much for joining me. Today, we're going to talk about how to sell local SEO services and get clients for your local SEO services or your service business. So, I'm going to share with you the method that I used to sell my local SEO services to over 1,000 small businesses across the United States and Canada. So, this is the exact process that I used over a 12-year period to get clients, keep clients. It's an excellent way to acquire clients for your local SEO services. So without further ado, let's get started. First thing that you need to do is define who is your customer. So you need to know exactly who your customer is. Who are they? Where do they live? Where do they work? What type of business do they have? That's really important because selling local SEO services is going to depend on what type of problem they're experiencing. So the problem that they're experiencing is their issue that they're not coming up in Bing. Is it that they're not coming up in Google? Is it that their Google business profile isn't showing up? Is it their website's not showing up? So you have to get really clear and specific on the exact problem that your potential customer is having if you want to solve it. But you have to know who they are, what type of business they're in, where they go to work every day. Are they a service business where they're a lawn care business and they're driving around all day? Are they a brick and mortar business like a local hardware store or a local groomer who's a service business but doesn't sell products, right? What exactly types of businesses are you trying to target? What is their problem? And do they know they have a problem? So are they aware that their website doesn't come up or that their Google business profile doesn't come up? Are they aware those are even important things to manage, right? So you have to really define who your customer persona is if you're going to solve a problem for them. And then you have to figure out if they know they have the problem. And then depending on who you're targeting as your potential customer, what is their budget? So if your customers are going to be all of these people in a local market, and they're all different business types, what does that local market sustain in terms of what they can afford to spend on these types of services? That's a big question mark. If you're targeting, like I said, a groomer versus a deli versus an auto dealership, they're all going to have very different budgets, which means the scope of what you're going to do for them for local SEO is probably going to vary too, like the expectations for what they pay and want. So trying to find product market fit for your services, first and foremost, define who exactly is your niche of customers that you're going to service, because that's going to inform a lot of other things about your services. Then once you know your niche, define your service. So let's just say I decide I'm going to do local SEO services for delis, right? That could be a niche that I'm going to target. Okay, what exactly do they need, right? What is their budget? Hopefully we've defined and gotten a sense of what their budget is. What are their needs? So then how do I align my services to that? Do I help them with Google business profile optimization? Am I going to help with website optimization? Am I going to help them with getting better or more relevant user-generated content? All of those things matter and they need to be defined specifically. I think one of the problems when you're selling local SEO services for the first time is that you might have a range of skill sets. And you think, well, I'll go in and I'll sell myself and we'll develop, I'll kind of feel out what they need, what's best. And then I'll develop this really custom plan for them and I'll price out a custom plan. That is pretty confusing for the small business owner that you're trying to target to sell your services to. You need to have exact package levels and exact clearly defined metrics and expectations and workflow. How much do your services cost? How many hours are you available or going to put into it? What is the success target going to look like for your customer? All of those things need to be very clear. So far, get clear on your customer, get clear on exactly who your defined niche is and who you're going to serve. What's that customer persona mapping or business persona mapping look like? Then define the exact service that they need at the price that they need and exactly what's going to go into what you're doing for them. Once you have that clarity, it's going to help your business in leaps and bounds as you go about trying to get more customers. So the next thing is the sales process. When people are trying to sell local SEO services, usually the sales process is a mess. And there is actually a pretty clear, defined sales process you can follow that's going to give you repeatable results for getting more customers. So again, at this point, you know what you are selling, the exact package levels or service levels you're selling, who you're going to be selling it to. Now it's time to start the sales process. So the personal selling process for local SEO services, first is about setting appointments. Next is demoing what it is you're going to do. And we'll talk about what that looks like. And then lastly is the follow-up process. So first, setting the appointment. You better get used to selling. If you want to have success in local SEO services, you're going to have to do personal selling. It's going to be a really important part of growing your business. If you don't want to do any personal selling, you need to think about having a business partner or somebody else who's going to participate. Or if you're in a place where you can hire somebody, personal selling is going to be critically important. You have to reach out to people, small business owners, if that's your target, and you have to introduce yourself and you have to try and set an appointment. Now, that's the first step. Don't walk in there and try to sell them on the first time that you talk to them. That's not your opportunity to sell the new client. That's your opportunity to introduce yourself, what it is you do, and ask them for their time. Ask them for an appointment. So the first step is always contacting, either through cold call, cold email, or if you have a strategic partner who can get you in the door with somebody, then you can use that as well. And then set an appointment with them. Say, hey, it's very nice to meet you. My name is Keegan Edwards. I help local businesses with their local SEO and marketing. I'd like to be more specific than that and probably say I help them optimize their Google business profile so they get found by more customers who are looking for delis like yours, right? A simple pitch like that. But I'm not going to try and sell them on it right now. What I'm looking for is the opportunity to set some time aside, 15 minutes to half an hour. I just love to explain what I do, how I've been able to help some other delis, small business owners. I'm using delis in this example, delis like yourself, grow their business by optimizing their GBP for them, their Google business profile for them, and what that's helped them, how that's helped them grow their business, right? That's just off the top of my head, something like that, right? And then you say, when is a good time for you? Are you available next Tuesday at 3? Are you available next Wednesday? Give them a specific time already and let them say, no, I'm available at this time, right? Try to close that exact time for appointment. So that's your first goal. Your goal is just to set the appointment. Now, here's the thing. You're going to get a lot of no's in this process. There will be a lot of people who tell you no, they are not interested in your services. They're not interested in an appointment. That's okay. That's a part of sales. And that's why I said, if you're not ready for personal selling, this might not be the process for you. But if you are ready for personal selling and you do want to grow your business and you're committed to it, then taking the time to set these appointments and do a lot of outreach, right? You have to do a meaningful amount of outreach. You might get 8 no's and 2 yeses, which means that you have to reach out to 10 people just to get 2 people to set an appointment. And you're probably not going to close both of those appointments, right? Some element of sales is a numbers game. So you have to dedicate time to doing meaningful amounts of outreach to get new local SEO clients. Here's a stat you may not know. It usually takes 8 cold call attempts to even reach a prospect. So if you want to actually even reach people to get to that yes or no to an appointment, the average prospect you're going to have to try and reach out to about 8 times before you're actually able to connect with them. Okay, so once you've done that, then it's time for your demo. So once you actually get on the appointment, and you come meet, they've agreed to an appointment and you come show up, this is where you need to demonstrate your services. And there's a few ways that you can do this. Reports, you can do it over a webinar, testimonials, in-person, phone call, or video. But here's what you're trying to accomplish. You're trying to get them to understand where their problem exists. Now, this is really important. You can't just talk about, oh, I'm going to sell you SEO services because it's going to be great, right? I'm really good at SEO. I'm going to help you rank high, right? I don't know that they're going to care, right? You're asking them to spend money. Most of the time, the biggest motivating factor for spending money is when we're trying to solve a problem. We're trying to solve our own problem that we're having or a business problem that we're having. So show them that they have a problem. If they don't have a problem, they might not be a good prospect for you. They might not need your services, right? They need your services and they're willing to pay for it when they see they have a problem. One of my favorite ways to do that, and I'm going to skip out of this, is go to a report that we send. So this is a local marketing report that just showcases for the customer exactly how their performance is currently. And we run these reports in advance and bring them to them. We'll talk about the software after this that give you options to do similar types of things. But we run the reports for them in advance. And then we come into the small business during that demo period and say, hey, we took a look at everything for you. We came prepared and we can show you that you don't, maybe there's an area for improvement with the links and authority of your website. You're not ranking very well, and we'll show you where. Hey, good news. Your Google business profile is performing pretty well, right? I don't know that you need our Google business profile well-defined service for that. But we can help with on-site SEO or links and authority or rank checker, right? Let me show you where you're at. Here's the big problem that you have. And I ran this for a plumbing business, just as an example. But for this plumbing business, we can see that for plumber in Denver, they come up, they're in the three pack as the third one in the three pack. They're first in Bing, and they rank organically. Their website ranks on the first page of, or fifth in Maps and sixth in Google. So not the best, but that's not terrible for plumber in Denver. But as soon as I do plumbing services, professional plumber, plumber near me, clogged pipes, anything like that, you can start to see that they don't rank at all. Now, as a plumber, these would be the types of searches that you would want to come up for, right? And so now we can start to say, hey, are you aware that you're not coming up for these searches, or that your ranking is 6, 7? You've got competitors who are coming up ahead of you. And that's where the wheels start turning for the potential prospect, where they start saying, well, man, that would be really good for me to come up. Maybe I do have a problem with that. And then you can validate, because you never want to lie to a prospect. You say, hey, you're doing great in this area. Your GBP is doing great. If you have services that help optimize the website, you can, and that's how you're going to approach your local SEO services. You can start talking to them about their load time. And maybe one of the things that you defined you're going to do is improve page speed load as a way of optimizing the site for search and user experience. So you can talk to them about where their page speed load is, show them their page speed load on Google Page Speed Insights, and you can talk through the report. Now you're building credibility, right? Now with the business owner, you've just built a ton of credibility about what it is that you're going to do and how you're going to help them. Now, if you compare this with showcasing how you've moved other clients from poor performance to positive performance, you might not be able to do that at first, but as you can run these reports over time for clients and say, okay, here's where you are. I've experienced this before working with businesses just like yours, and here's where I was able to move them from to, right? And show some before and after reports. And then even better, ask those current clients to share with you, any increase in sales, any increase in new customers. And if you can say, hey, and I moved them from starting place A to place C, and in that period, here's their testimonial where that client said that they have, 100 more customers than they had before they started working with me. Now you're talking about identifying a problem for them and leading them down the path of the solution, demonstrating that you've done it effectively before. And on top of that, in that process, if you're showcasing all of those things for your customer, you're building legitimacy for yourself. You're proving that you're a professional. You're proving you can solve their problem. You're proving it's going to grow your business. And if you did what we talked about in the beginning of this video, define your customer and define your solutions, you have a very clear, well-packaged pricing and product structure to then sell them to solve this problem and move in that same successful direction that you did for other clients. So that's how you construct the winning pitch on that demo situation. Then you need to follow up, right? So the key after this is following up to make sure you get a yes or a no. Follow up, 80% of sales require 5 follow-up calls after the meeting. 40% of sales reps give up after 1 follow-up call. So you got to decide. And that's why I said personal selling is a big part of selling local SEO services. You want to be successful, you've got to have you've got to have personal selling skills. And of course, you've got to have the local SEO skills. That's how you're going to be most successful. If you don't have one of the two of those, if you're a salesperson saying, this is a great business idea, find somebody who's really good at local SEO to execute, and you go find the clients. If you're on the flip side of that, you're really good at local SEO, but personal selling is not your thing, find somebody who's going to do the personal selling. That's how you're going to grow your business together. Now, keep following up, asking for a deal. Now, once they say no, you don't need to keep bothering them. Maybe try them again in 6 months, right? They'll know who you are at that point. It's more of a warm call. But I'm not suggesting that you follow up, to the degree that's bothering people. What I'm suggesting is you professionally follow up right after the call. Make sure that you've followed up until they say yes or no. Don't just give up because you have a hard time reaching them afterwards, or because you're unsure, or maybe they were having a bad day, so they're a little bit rude to you one day. Don't give up because of those things. Just follow up politely and professionally until they say yes or no. And you can follow up by email or phone. Now, one of the critical pieces of this, and I showcase the software that we use, is making sure that you have software that works really well for your business. So find the right software to help you run your SEO services. The software that you choose is going to be used to demonstrate the issue that the customer is potentially having and the way that you can solve the problem for them. So again, isn't this a nice report that you can see in front of me? When you're sharing that with the client, instead of just talking in generalities, you're sharing with them something very clear that they can use to measure your performance and to see where they were at the beginning and where they ended up. So the software that you choose, though, is going to give you a competitive advantage in one way or another. It's going to give you a competitive advantage or disadvantage. So it's really important that you pick the right software for, again, this is why you define your client and your services for exactly what you're going to be doing. Because here's a list of some popular local SEO software systems. Each one does things a little bit differently. Each thing helps you visualize aspects differently. Each one helps you fix things differently. Each one focuses on different elements or aspects, whether that's cleaning up citations and listings, whether it's cleaning up the website, whether it's optimizing content. Each one focuses on these a little bit different. So you want to do your research and say, okay, I know my customer, I know what I'm going to offer, which software system is the most practical and applicable to helping me run these services for clients. And then you have to remember, you're going to need to price in the cost of the system into what you're going to charge your clients, right? That's almost your cost of goods sold is the system that you're going to use for reporting, sharing with clients, and actually using the tools to help improve performance for your clients too. So this is a list of just some popular ones. I'll post the links below the video so you can check them out too. But do your research and think which one's going to give me the right type of competitive advantage for the SEO services I'm going to sell and for demonstrating that value over time. Which one aligns with my customer, my product, service level package, and how I want to convey performance, right? So after that, you've now kind of built a sales process that's going to be effective for actually acquiring new local SEO clients. All right. So the way to go through that is what we just talked about. Define your customer, define the package levels for your service, and then build a consistent sales process of outreach to set an appointment, demoing, and following up. Leverage software, local SEO software throughout that process to help your client see where their problem exists and the way that you can solve that problem clearly and concisely and at a fair price. And if you do all that and you work at it, you're going to be successful selling your local SEO services.